Well, the age of Aquarius. Age of Aquarius. Okay. Is it the age of Aquarius? Well, actually it is. And Uranus is the planet that represents this age. So, Elaine Marolakos Edelson here with Astrology Mojo, transformational astrology. Want to help you get your mojo back. And today we're talking about Uranus going retrograde in the sign of Taurus. But until then, let me know you're here. Come and say hello to me. What is your sign? What is your MO, your modus operandi, astrologically speaking? Oh my gosh. Okay, you can't see it because I give this appearance of perfection. But I'm sweating like crazy. It's hot out here in Arizona. In Sedona. And Dean says, move the microphone down. But I don't know if you can hear me. Okay. So I have a little exciting announcement to make. Hey, Christine's here as well. And so as I've been doing Facebook Live events, and more and more people have been showing up, which I'm so honored, and thank you for joining me. So we're growing, and that's exciting. So is my Facebook Live event. And I will be here now 3 days a week instead of 2. So look for, unless there's electrical failures or something, active something. I will be here on Monday, Thursday, and Saturdays until the clocks change at 10 a.m. Pacific time, which is also Arizona time. And this is exciting for me because then my reach is a little greater. I get to share more with you, and you get to benefit by all the information, plus sharing with each other in the comment section and how things are working for you. All right, so I am going to pull out the cards. I didn't pull a card last time, but I wanted to get an overall feel. Hey, Lindsay's here too. And Lindsay is an Aquarius moon and a Taurus sun, right? And Leah is a Scorpio and Christine is a Sag. So what we have here is a really fascinating event that, we've been talking about Jupiter in retrograde. And Jupiter in retrograde, recap, we're still in it. And we will be for quite a while through December 2nd. And we are going to be looking at the expansion on the inside. Now, as I've said, retrograde planets are meant for reflection, reassessment, review, renegotiation, and or release. But what I found with the Uranus retrograde, and Uranus is a planet. Okay, everybody, first of all, say it with me. Uranus, it's a Greek word, and it is pronounced Urano, and it means the heavens. And so we can skip the jokes because the pronunciation really is like you're on us. And it's like the pressure's on for you to grow and change. And that's inner pressure. Remember the planet? Oh, that's a NASA Hubble photograph image of Uranus. Isn't it just grand? And they see right above my head, they found a spot. They found a spot on Uranus. What is that? Well, they're exploring further. And this is a photographic image of the Hubble. Yet this one does not contain Uranus's rings, and Uranus does have rings just like Saturn. But anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, you're on us. It's like the pressure that you put on yourself to have your freedom, the why of your coming to this earth. It's your why. So remember how I say to imagine planets like people at a cocktail party or a barbecue? Well, Uranus is definitely the one who comes in with multicolored hair, or is non-binary gender, or is the musician at the gig, or is the person who talks about scientific discoveries and how they apply to you, or is the astrologer, or is that rebel, that anarchist, is that person who says, I don't think inside the box because I know there are no boxes. So that's Uranus at a party. And when Uranus goes retrograde, now the other planets, when they go retrograde, again, it's about turning in to look down. What is the reflection of your psyche? What is the inner chatter? Mercury retrograde. In Saturn retrograde, what's the structure you set up for yourself that no longer works? So Jupiter retrograde, which we're in now through December 2nd, where is that inner expansion? Where's your compassion? Where is it? We need more of it in the world. Okay, now when Uranus goes retrograde, which it did yesterday, August 11th through, January 10th of 2020, during this time frame, what you're going to discover based on where Uranus is in your astrological chart, and it's in the sign of Taurus now, so if you know what your chart looks like, look for where Taurus is. And then you'll see approximately, it's at 2 degrees, approximately which house will be affected and what the topics will be. But basically when Uranus goes into a retrograde phase, which it does for 6 months out of the year, you have an opportunity to be literally sideswiped by yourself. It's like, and suddenly, you're like doing your thing, la, 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 living my life, doing my thing. And suddenly you have a realization, and suddenly you just, that's it. You've made a declaration. You can't stand it anymore, and life goes into a whole different phase of expansion. Now, who else is here? We've got Sasha, Libra in full creation mode. Go Libra. Or as I've heard some astrologers say, it's Libra. I guess it depends on where you live in the world and what your dialect is. But Libra, excellent. Sag, Taurus, and Scorpio. We have a Cancer, another Taurus. Who else is here? Come say hello to me. All right. Right now, so far, I'm going to pull 2 cards. I'm going to pull 3, actually, for what Uranus represents in retrograde for this time frame. And I got my big celestial orb. Hey, it's like Uranus, but not blue. I got my hand on the power up button. And Kathleen is here. Something fell right out. Ooh, this is interesting, as our nephew Ian used to say when he was 9. Okay, the first card, visualization. Visualization. So when Uranus, the planet of freedom, your freedom, how I described Uranus once a long time ago, and I think I want to stick with this, as even though I change my definitions and fine-tune things, like we all do. Uranus is the one who created the chain and the one who created the bolt cutter. So you have to look inside to see where in you, especially in Taurus, where Taurus is very stable, loyal, fixed, want to get it done, let's focus on something, very sensual, romantic, has great ideas about the earth or planting or eating and lying on the couch and watching TV. But when Uranus entered the constellation of Taurus back in March 2019, suddenly there was what? Everybody had at least one what in their life. And now that Uranus is retrograde through January 10th, 2020, there's going to be a big why as to that what. So Uranus is your why. So visualization tells me that it's time to look at the picture, not just the way you want it to look, but the way it is. And that is based on your belief. Oops, your belief. What do you believe? And that's what ultimately in astrology, the definition of Uranus comes to break up your belief system. It comes to break up the parts of you that think, oh yeah, I just do this thing. And if I do this thing, then life will go on and I feel safe and, I got it covered. I'm in control. And then Uranus goes retrograde and you're like, what? What just happened? Rhonda's here. She's a Pisces. Sage, the sage, is Capricorn. Kathleen, Cancer extraordinaire. So Uranus is asking you to examine what you can imagine. Because in that imagination, I wanted to break into like a song. Imagination. What show is that from? Is that Mary Poppins? I forget. It's your entire world can be created from this imagination based on your beliefs. Now, if your beliefs have created the life you're living right now and you don't like what you see, you got to change something. Transformation, right? And before I talk about the third card, what's very fascinating too is that in ancient days, Uranus, which I believe was discovered in the 1700s, was deemed the rebellious planet. If we look at the sign of the times, when something is discovered, it's always existed, or for a lot longer than we have. And then when we discover it, we think, boom, that's when it comes into being. And that's from our profound, limited awareness. And Uranus used to be called the water bearer, because that was one of the major currencies, and I mean currencies, not just financial, but currencies in the world. If you didn't have water, you died as a tribe. So people lived near water, and it created flow and brought abundance, crops, could feed your cattle. Then they invented the water wheel, and it went on from there. So invention comes from the flow, and the flow in ancient days was the water bearer. To me now, having researched so much astrology and psychology and mythology over the years, I actually see Aquarius not as a man or as a woman, but as a being that represents all kinds, all types, inclusive of. And it is the water, wind, and electricity are three major currents of our own type of technology. And if you look back in ancient days, technology, today, you think of a computer, a cell phone, something high tech, spaceships, rocket fuel, technology. Back in the day, in our ancestors' days, technology was chip that rock, make it sharp, and go hunting. That was technology. So any type of technology that helps your brain to understand what it can do more of and what it needs to let go of, I think is what the most profound experience you will encounter during this Uranus retrograde. Now, again, it depends on where Uranus retrograde is in Taurus in your personal natal chart. Now, the third card that Uranus is here to impart to us, not really, but it's that part of us. Impart. Look at the word impart. I'm part. So I'm part of my own technological growth spurt with my belief system, what I truly believe, and then that's going to get shaken. Oh, you bet. And then how I visualize, because now I can see something bigger. Where before I thought, it can't happen. Because if my scope is limited, then my manifestations will also be limited. But then there's karma, intervention, mind-blowing experiences that shakes up your belief so that you can start to grow. That's the third card, growth. So that's what this whole phase of Uranus retrograde is really all about. It is about your internal growth and what shakes it up. Now, if I'm going to look back, here you can look back too, to August 6th, 2018 to January 2nd, 2019. Just ponder that while I take a sip. August 6th, 2018 to January of 2019. In that time frame, oh wait, let me check in. People are here. Rhonda, we talked about. Willy Wonka, that is so Aquarian. That is so Uranus. Absolutely. Lindsay said, would now be a good time to start writing a book. I've been putting it off for years, but out of nowhere, I decided to write the dedication yesterday. I think you answered your question. If you already started writing, now is the best time. Right? No pun. No pun intended. But yet delivered. On cue. All right. Sasha says, I'm so happy to be here right now. I'm just in tears. And you need your being live more than anything right now. Okay. I don't know if I understood what you just wrote, but it feels good. It feels really good. I'm moving the mic around because it's getting wobbly and it's falling. I'll just move it like that. Okay. You need, oh, I see. Thank you, darling. North Node in Taurus. Well, a North Node in Taurus with a Uranus retrograde in Taurus, I would say buckle up. Put on your seatbelts. You're ready to go. All systems go. You know, now that Uranus also deals with science, and it ushered in an age of let's look to the stars in astronomy. Now, in ancient days, of course, astronomy and astrology were exactly the same. So Dean's here to help me out with my, thank you so much, Dean, because my microphone is wibbly wobbly. It says, don't touch it now, but I'm still going to touch it. And he's like, yeah, okay, sure. Whatever you say. Just leave it, is what he said. Just don't touch it. All right, I won't. Okay. Sweating, I'm sweating. Okay, so what were we talking about? I just distracted myself. Oh, trajectory, going forward, science and technology. When you're ready to have a breakthrough, like in one of my breakthrough sessions, when you're ready to have a breakthrough, what typically happens is you feel sideswiped because unless you've been working on it, and you're geared toward, yes, I'm ready for this change. I've been, aimed, focused, working on it. Okay. But for the most part, the part of us that gets stuck also has a built-in freedom switch. And so when you get way too comfortable, we call it life, circumstance, an outside force, right? But what happens basically is something comes in and throttles you, like shakes you awake. And suddenly you're in the throes of what? I didn't know. You find out your lover was cheating on you. You find out that you got passed up for a promotion when you've been giving your all. And then you think, well, now what do I do? Or you find out you've a health issue comes your way, or someone passes away. During a Uranus retrograde in 2017 was the last 6 months of my mom's life. So I knew that it was time to stop work completely. And I did a few Facebook Lives, but to stop work completely and really give my all to this person because I made a vow to see her off planet. And I was able to fulfill that vow. And thanks to my sister as well and my husband, my very supportive husband. So during that time, and also Uranus in Taurus was transiting my 4th house in astrology. So that means you move your inner energy, you let go of a parent, you let go of an identity bond. And so again, you want to look at where that is in your chart. Now I do have a few more body and soul I am looking at all the retrograde planets in the body and soul package, and that is a very in-depth package. I look back 19 years. I look at the nodes, which are adjuncts of the moon, and the North Node, in case you don't know, it has a lot to do with your future and the why of your now, like why you've come now and what you're here to do. And the South Node is what you're here to let go of so you can go and get that thing done. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So when we're talking about Uranus, I want to hear from you now. You let me know. Do you feel something rumbling underneath? Do you feel like something's, I don't know, there's a change coming in? A lot of times that change represents, if you look back to, now Uranus is retrograde approximately 6 months at a time, but it switches throughout the calendar year. So a few years ago, it was retrograde from July through December, then August through early January. Now, end of August through end of January. See, so it's like it's turning around the wheel. So if you look back a few years and you think around this time between August through December, what was it that got your attention the most in the past 3 years? So if you can look back, history is a great marker. Saturn represents our history and our ability to alter the structure based on where the infrastructure is falling apart. That's, and then Uranus comes by to break apart the belief system. But it's not the planet. You know that, right? Listen, it's not the planet that's doing it to you. Some part of your inner self is so ready to go forward. Now I want to hear from you. What in the past couple of years has really given you that inclination that something is off? Something has to change. There are things that you can do with the Uranus retrograde, and we're going to talk about this throughout the rest of the week. I'll be back on Thursday. That's my new announcement for folks who are just joining us, or if you're listening in a replay, because my Facebook Lives are starting to become a little bit more popular, and thanks to you, pass it on. Let people know that I'm around because I do want to help. And so I'll be expanding my reach on Facebook Monday, Thursday, and Saturdays, and until the clocks change in the U.S. Arizona does not change, or in the world, Arizona does not change their clocks. So 10 a.m. Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, and then I'll probably move to 10:30 Arizona time when the clocks change in the winter. But right now I'll be back 3 days a week. That's 3, unless something major takes me away. Like what? What would that be? I don't know. Visitation. Hang on, I gotta go meet with my alien counterparts. So here's some things that you can do in a retrograde, a Uranus retrograde, that will help you to kind of hone in the frequency, because you might start feeling electric. Just like Lindsay said, woke up one day and said, I'm ready to write a book. Okay, yeah, blah. Blah. What do I do? How do I do it? The why is presented to you. Why? Because you feel it. It's passion. It's freedom. And sometimes the why depends on where Uranus is transiting in your chart, but sometimes the why is so abrupt that people look at you and go, a friend of mine made a declaration during a Uranus retrograde that I had never heard these words come out of this person's mouth. And she said, yeah, I think I want to be a lawyer. I was like, what? What? When did that pass your, I've been thinking about it for a while. Really? Okay. And that made me laugh. And then we looked at her chart and we saw where Uranus was at the time. And I think what's funny too for a lot of people is that when the planet Uranus, and remember folks, we live in a cooperation with the cosmos, right? So when the planets make a move, you feel it. When you make a move, the planets reflect that in the heavens by way of aspects and angles in astrology. So what you're looking to do on this earth is really activate your spirit and your purpose. And you do have one. And your number one purpose is to become present. That is your number one purpose. Without being present, you cannot align body, mind, spirit. And if you don't make that alignment, you're off center for a little bit. It doesn't mean you're still not powerful. You're very powerful. You can do a lot of things, but people come talk to me, tell me, what is it in the past couple of years where you have this feeling like something's got to give, something's got to change? Because now, during the next 6 months, what you're going to feel is the kapow, like, and then suddenly, and then out of the blue. The blue. So what you can do is start to tune in a little bit more to your inner technology, your electrical impulses, what gives you that passionate feeling. So utilizing crystals, music, actually taking up an instrument, or utilizing your voice as an instrument to either speak or sing or chant, and to change the vibration, because Uranus is really all about vibration. So if you walk into a room and it's the office and everybody's talking and you think, I can't do the chitter chatter anymore. It's innocuous. It's not to judge, but it goes nowhere, and I can't do it. So it's these inner, like, rebellious feelings that come up during this time frame. Then instead of saying to them, "Oh, you're so small. What are you chattering about? There's more important things." You don't want to go there, because that's the hard edge of the part of us that wants to judge lack of freedom in others. You can look at somebody and say, you and your boyfriend split up again. Like, I can't even go there. How many times have we had the conversation? Like, why? So when people are doing their thing, you don't need to go to that rebellious extreme and become indignant. You just don't. So we don't want to go there. So Lindsay says, this is hard to share, but I fell victim to some powerful people with strong metaphysical abilities and suffered a horrific psychic attack. I am so sorry to hear that. You know how to surround yourself. Everyone, this is very important, to surround yourself with white, silver light. Silver light of protection, white light of protection. And that light comes from the inside when you connect, open your crown chakra, bring it in from the universe, and then expand it out around you into an aura. So you have a bubble around you. And Lindsay says, was forced to learn how to take back my power. Okay. In it of itself, that was a lesson that if a person who is very, very spiritual, or is in this kind of business, the number one thing everybody in this business needs is boundaries, right? Okay. If you're listening and you're a professional intuitive, psychic, tarot reader, body worker, energy worker, blah, blah, astrologer, transformational, anything, a vibrational healing, anything, facilitator, you know what I'm talking about. It is about boundaries. But then you Lindsay says, realized I can access a lot of spiritual power. This is what I want to write my book about. This happened late last summer. Okay. Well, our hearts are with you. Everybody give Lindsay some big hearts, because to share that is also an act of Uranus retrograde, to confess something to yourself that you know is true, but yet have had difficulty expressing. That is also big. And what it leads to is an inner awakening, and also moves your energy so that you can have a healing. Now, the healing can take place on any level. I had a client who, when we went through a Uranus retrograde a few years back, this individual was fighting the marriage. We have kids. It's been so long. And this was when Uranus was in Aries, and this person is an Aries rising sign. And I said, well, just waiting for something to happen means you've made a choice. But it doesn't always necessarily mean that it's the best choice for you, right? So eventually they got divorced, and it was kind of, not great. Not great for the kids. It was angry. It was messy, So when you ignore something on the inside and it comes knocking in a retrograde, it wants you The energy in you wants to be acknowledged. Now, you don't need to go to extremes. Our daughter, our kid is an Aquarius rising. And to have Uranus guide your entire chart means, extremes or sudden declarations. It's like, I love that person. I want to live in Japan. It's like that kind of energy needs to be tempered and balanced so that you can actually put your talents and gifts into the world. So again, it depends on where your Uranus and Taurus retrograde is in your chart. So think about that. And Lindsay, thank you so much for sharing, because when you start writing, it's going to be a very cathartic thing at first. First, it will be for your healing, and then it will be for other people's. So keep that in mind. As a writer myself, as a published author, I know that when you have something to share, something to say, and something to say to others to help them, sometimes they're called prescriptive memoirs. But first, you write it for you. And then you write it in a way that can benefit others. And that comes with the editing process. But right now, just write. And for others who have, Sasha says, Shada says, I've been in your situation. It's hard. Yes. Thank you for the group support. It's important. And Sasha will third that experience. Absolutely. Definitely. And, when someone crosses a boundary, whether it's in the spiritual world or the physical plane, the boundary is crossed and the boundary needs to be set. When I lived a long time ago, when I was first coming into my own awareness of my abilities and putting them into practice in the world, I would have a lot of visions and a lot of visitations. And at first they, freaked the crap out of me. There's so many to count, but this one that I'm thinking of, someone across the street was a drug addict and he passed away, and he left a wife and a little kid. And this was over 30 years ago. And I was meditating heavily at that time and channeling and trance channeling. And so I went to sleep sending out a prayer to the family. But what happened was I astral projected. What would be interesting to note is that if I'm going to look back in my calendars and see if it was a Uranus retrograde when this happened. But I astral projected and literally left my body, and I was floating around in my room. And that was the first mind-blowing, I knew it was possible, and I dreamed flying, but it felt very real, conscious, like the ceiling was right in front of my face, because I left my body and there I was. And then I had to take it out of the physical form and learn how to move my energy. And I thought, how do I get out of the room? The door's closed. That was my first thought. And I wasn't walking, I was floating. So then I thought, well, maybe I could swim. And I started to swim across the room. And I thought, well, this is silly. I just want to go to the kitchen. Boom, I was in the kitchen. And then I thought, I just want to go outside. Boom, I was outside. And a flock of birds went right through me. It was so profound that I thought, okay, this is freedom in its highest form. That, feeling stuck in a body, working a drudgery job, trying to pay my bills, and then suddenly I'm flying. And I saw the little boy in the street, playing in the street. And it was a quiet neighborhood, so not a lot of cars. But anyway, he was playing in the street, and I thought, I need to protect him somehow. So I kind of floated near him and sent him love. And he went into the house. And I went to the door, and I looked in, and I saw the wife, felt the grief. It was overwhelming. And then I thought, I want to make sure this kid's okay. And I entered their house without permission. Yes, even in spirit form. I entered their house without permission. And I followed the little boy, and he was playing with a truck. And there he was on the floor. And I thought, okay, I can go now. And as I went to leave the room, I saw something in the corner. And it startled me because that something saw me. It didn't occur to me that I was visible in spirit form. And it was the dad. He didn't know he had died, and there he was. And so immediately I just, I left. like a zoom, boom, woke up, heart racing, the whole thing. And I thought, oh my gosh, what do I do? And I used to commune with my guides and my angels and my ET family, my starseed, and I did a meditation. And then that night, I woke up in the middle of the night, and a voice went through one ear, out the other, and it said, I want to come into your home. And because that guy across the street, his spirit was not conscious, and he was not a healthy person, he came into my home because I went into his. So it was like, oh my gosh, this is like a science fiction movie. I woke up, and I had quit smoking at the time. It was a long time ago. And I had a roommate, and I just found her cigarettes, and I started smoking. I just started lighting cigarettes thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. It's like I am being overtaken by a spirit who doesn't know that they're dead. So I called a teacher of mine, and she suggested an energy exercise, which I did. And my roommate and I both did, because she woke up the next day and said, I had the weirdest dream that somebody was trying to break into the house. And I was like, okay, we got to take action. So we lit some candles and sent out white light and envisioned the white light getting brighter and brighter and brighter to surround us first, our house, the apartment we lived in, our neighborhood, and then their house, and then the family, and the departed soul who didn't know he was dead. And said, it's okay, you can face the light, you can go, you can go, you can go. And he left. But that was such a terrifying experience. So I understand that when someone overtakes you energetically, or someone overtakes you physically, it's the same thing. And setting up a boundary is important. And that's part of the Uranus retrograde realization that you have power. You are powerful. You are powerful. Kathleen says, where can we find your books? Well, I was a bestseller on Amazon many years ago, but then I took it down so that I could write the series. I'm writing a series of historical fiction fantasy books called Sign of the Time series, and One Soul's Epic Journey Through 12 Lifetimes. And the first book was called Aries Fire. The second one, Taurus, for Taurus, is 10 Steps of the Bull. And the third one is The Viking Queen. So you can't find them yet because I haven't uploaded them yet. They are being edited. But thank you for asking. I'll let everyone know. It will be a huge expression. And I plan on writing so much during this retrograde. I can't wait to get back to writing. Okay, so some things you can do. We're going to talk about this more on Thursday. So please come back. And again, thank you everyone for sharing and for sharing your support for everyone else who is here. So put some love into the world. Let's do our own Uranus retrograde thing. And that is to recognize the power that we do have to change one person's life by not telling them what to do, it's not about making them change. It's about helping them to feel empowered. And sometimes that's just a simple, hi, you look fantastic in that color. Have a beautiful day. Right? All right. So we're going to come back on Thursday with more things that you can do during this Uranus in retrograde that will help you to feel more empowered. So, and Dean will post a link. I've got a few more spots left for the Body and Soul package, and that is, we go back 19 years. We look at all the retrogrades happening now, what it activates in your karma. It is about you being here on this earth and activating your purpose. And it comes with 3 months of personalized daily horoscope transits. That is the Body and Soul package. You can also see the link, I believe, if you're on a computer. And you'll get me time. You'll get some me time. And all right, we're good to go. I just feel like suddenly bursting into the theme of Star Trek Into Darkness. Bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba dum. I'll see you on Thursday. Come back.